Wow, what a day. And I get so sick of politicians. Danielle Smith, I just got hammered on my phone with UCP's latest poll, going through a number of questions, all flawed questions, all the typical Crown bullshit. We're going to do a plebliscite. Here's a list of poll questions. We're going to narrate the narrative. We're going to divide Canada and the province the way we see it, not how it is. And let me tell you about the latest polling and coming plebliscite maybe, or I should say plebliscites, because these are going to be multiple, according to Danielle Smith and UCP. Immigration is somehow now magically, it's all federal according to the poll, that the province doesn't have any effectual contact with that, which it does entirely. I even said that to the UCP pollsters. I said, you know damn well you run half the immigration program. You know damn well that you create the PRC system. Well, what is that? That's the preferred residence, not Canadian immigrant that comes to Canada, yes, through federal as they get a Canadian passport, but only after applying to the province for permanent residency, whether they've been here or not, whether they've really been scrutinized or not beyond their education. And this should be particularly troublesome when we get into labs, lab assistant, scientists, everything else, as an epidemic opiate problem is realized in the States. Canada's answer is we're only 1% of those caught dealing massive amounts of fentanyl, meaning we only can be proved that Canada's killing 30 Americans a week. Folks, these are seriously mentally ill, flawed answers coming from media, coming from provincial and federal politicians. When you talk about Americans, American citizens, and you tell the United States, we're not that bad. We're only killing 30 Americans a week. It's only 1% of those caught. And by the way, folks, Mexico, it's all illegal, registered illegal, meaning those caught are absolutely illegal. In Canada, it's illegal made legal through the provinces. And Donald J. Trump says, nah. That means we are letting literally thousands go where we're catching 1 in 1,000. That's what he's trying to tell Canadians, Canadian federal and provincial politicians. They won't hear it. It proves it in this latest poll I just did, and why I'm shooting this live. Massive flaws in it. Danielle Smith polling on the Sovereignty Act. Should we impose the Sovereignty Act to do all these monumental changes in Canada, going for Alberta independence, which, if there's anyone who wrote the book on the legal path to independence, I ran it in 2019, the legal path from the Allies of World War II, where right now, today, Donald Trump has told you he's going to veto any province, Quebec, Alberta. You go for it, you're gonna get vetoed. He gave you a huge speech about it just 24 hours ago to all media who would listen. If you listen to his words, he told you these facts, that he needs the whole border secured. Arctic, he needs those NATO contributions, even going to punish all the NATO allies coming over the next 3 months. Today we're going to see just first stage Canada tariffs, not the end all and be all. They could go as high as 40%, maybe even beyond. We don't know yet. Your lying, thieving politicians, which I went through Danielle Smith's complete survey. It's pathetic. It's a joke. It's everything the Republicans can't stand about Canada's political system. The colonial system that they're going to decolonize. They're going to do it through economic measures. And they will replace you, Canadians, Albertans. They will replace you. Danielle Smith is rolling out a narrated by the Crown level of polling for her specific use of laws that are deeply flawed and are not going to be accepted in Canada, let alone the United States. I mean, the U.S. is going, we already know that's all bullshit. We're used to people like you and Ford, all the Liberals, all the Conservatives, all the NDP, and every other party in between. We know what you are. We know you're completely flawed. You're lying to your people, but you're not going to get away with it with us. Our Americans and our American industries will change. They will change as tariffs ramp up. Slowly, they will cut Canada out. You can do all the plebiscites you want, all the fake narratives, poll people, smarter people, more informed people like myself, when 95% of your polling questions are either not effectual or can't be done even in Canada. So why poll for something you know can't work? Asking questions you didn't want to answer 10 years ago and even decades before that, but just in my political time, you were deadly against. But now all of a sudden, you want all these things done. You're 10 years too late. And the monumental amount of divestment has happened already for Alberta and many other industries right across Canada. But this video is on Alberta's latest polling by UCP, by Danielle Smith. Flawed entirely. 95% of it deathly flawed, completely inaccurate, not lawful, not recognized by the United States, which should be most important when you're going to address these issues that you're going to flaunt to Canadians. You poison the minds of the electorate with your bullshit poll on ineffectual change. Ineffectual, not legal, not even in Canada, not even provincially, not even representational of our legal truth here, let alone, and I don't agree with that legal truth, but I know what that legal truth is, as flawed as it is. At least address it as it is. Take ownership for what you can do, what is in your privy. Why is the Century Initiative not addressed? Why is the permanent residency program administered by the provinces not addressed by any premier, let alone Danielle Smith? Why is it not addressed? Folks, until these truths are put front and center, no premier's giving you any rollout of any effectual change, any transformation of relations between the United States and Canada, and USA knows it. That's why the offer of 51st state. Donald J. Trump isn't going to treat the provinces as little princes and princesses of the crown. They're done with that. And they're also done with the federal crown. It's called We the People. It has to happen now for Canada, which means the only logical step forward in the mind of the federal government of the United States is Canada the 51st state or Canada a wasteland, an economically deprived region or set of regions that literally will transform into protectorates of the United States over the decade to come. Either way, USA clearly shows a history of big patience. They will wait it out and let you be deprived of everything. Let you slide down into the dump. Until Danielle Smith starts becoming honest, which I don't see happening, just like all the other premiers. They play the same game the Prime Minister plays. Protect our crown. Protect our narrative. Trick the subjects into biting into our poison apple. Because they're the ones who are going to suffer. And you will suffer with their lies and their incorrect narratives going forward that are deeply flawed. USA recognizes this. They know it. They're going to punish you over it. Coming. Not going to stop. going to keep pounding, pounding, pounding. And yes, it's all of us who suffer for the love of our crown. Not my love, but a lot of Canadians and a mass majority still believe in the baloney. How many hundreds of thousands of Albertans are doing the poll I just went through today? How many recognize the deep-seated flaws of the poll, that you're being led into the crown narrative of the province, which is superiorly flawed? Protect the provincial crown, blame the federal crown. Federal, blame the provincial crowns, save us. Either way, we the people are done, because we the people don't exist in these polls, in these plebiscites, or any narrative of ever bringing us up to par or us in charge of our destiny. Because there is no sovereignty. USA hasn't lied about any of that. And all Donald J. Trump and the GOP are doing is highlighting it all for all of you to see. So many won't see it because of the constant, never-ending propaganda of baloney. Immigration alone, completely baloney. It is 50-50, Canada and the provinces. That's not the United States. That's Canada. And they don't want to address it. They don't want to address their need for the 100 million by 2100. They don't want to stop it. Not Pierre, not Trudeau, not nobody. These little reductions they made, this big, you're still way over 485,000 people a year. A monumental, explosive immigration rate shared equally among the provinces and the federal government that makes illegal legal and sends that across the border, where USA has a tremendously hard time catching. Got provincial ID, got a Canadian passport. How do they determine who's Canadian, who isn't? How do they know? Because USA doesn't run like that. Think of how hard that is for America. And then Canadians saying politicians lunatics. Think about the value of human life. Do you think Americans tell Americans, you know what? As long as it's only a few dozen or not a few hundred Americans dead every week, it's no big deal, right? Canada can keep on keeping on. No, they care. They care about 6 Americans out of Venezuela, and they pride themselves in that. They definitely care about 30 dead Americans a week because of Canada's illegal-made legal immigration programs that are 50-50 federal and provincial, that nobody's addressing and ignoring. And the media's going, no, nothing to see here. All your premiers say, oh, no, nothing to see here. Nothing to see here with our embedment with China and India. More, we're going to do a plebiscite. Don't you think it's right that we should go around American trade with our other trading partners? Newsflash, Beijing and China, communism. That's your alternative. That's what they're selling you. They're tricking you into saying, do you want to trade with a democracy you know, or the devil you don't know, meaning communism? Do you want to remove more of the democratic trading regime and move over to communist regime? That's what Danielle Smith's asking you. That's the new poll right now today. Shouldn't we transition to communism? Wouldn't that be better so I can stay in power? I may not be a monarch anymore, but at least as a communist, I'll be in charge still regionally. Yeah, in communism, I'll have the central authority I still have today. I'll have it. We'll still be there, but you'll all be communists. Isn't that a better solution? That's your Danielle Smith. You want me to support that? I told them in the polling, I told UCP. So who is our other trade partner? They wouldn't answer, and I start going, who are our trade pacts with? Did we or did we not get vetoed from the European Union? We did. So who is our trading partners? Oh, it's communism or military dictatorship. That's who we're with. That's what you want us to transition to. What does that yield? What is our current trade relationship with those regimes? Oh, massive deficit, like the deficit USA is fighting us over. You want us to transition from USA to more of that. Meaning my value, my children's value, is going to be down in the toilet, which means we'll be good little, communists? Comrades? Is that where we're going? It's okay as long as the politicians remain millionaires in their central authority. Does it matter if our GDP plummets? Because it will. It will. Anyone who's never looked at a country that's transitioned over to the BRICS side, that's where you're going. How much is a yuan worth against a CAD? How much is a ruble worth against a CAD? We can go on and on. Show me one currency, as ours is dropping right now, that would promote us from where we are right now with USA to a transition over to those BRICS nations, which again, Beijing, 9 of the 15 we're in bed with, are inside that regime now. They're full on BRICS, which is majority civil law socialist, or in fact, majority communist. Which one do you want to be, Canadians? Tough to decide, right? It just blows me away what conservatives are selling, exactly what the liberals have always wanted. The conservatives are selling all of you. And they're doing that in the number one place, Alberta, which doesn't really surprise me, because Alberta's been in this transition the longest. Wake up, folks. That's what all your politicians from every party have you slotted for. That's what they want to do. We are not going to be doing European Union. They locked us out. We're vetoed. We can go to all these other democracies who are not with us. They're with the United States of America. They're not getting tariffed. We are. Why? Go look at what your government's up to. Federally and provincially shared. It's been going on for more than a decade and a half at an aggressive rate. USA is saying, we're cutting you off. We're done. We're going to punish you for it. Transition back or transition out. Apply for the 51st state, because we can't have you as the loose lunatics on the global stage threatening our national security with your love of communism, civil law socialists, or full-on military dictatorships. That's what we're dealing with here. Not out of the realm of truth. In fact, it's completely verifiable, deadly accurate, and can't be denied here. But yet Canadians are denying it. Politicians are lying about it. And you're all going along with it. A lot of you, maybe not my close friends and followers, but many, many Canadians. When are you going to see it for what it is and say no? You knew that China FIPA was no good. I know 87% of you way back in Harper's time said, no, we can't do this. But yet we did, against a vast majority, the supposed left or right, which was another one of those survey questions. Left or right? Well, what about up and down? What about the transition from America, we the people down here, to communism up here and military dictatorship? What about the up and down scale? Why is that not in the survey? Oh, well, because we don't want to talk about that. No. That's not for Canadians to ever learn about. We know we're an autocracy, of course. Jeez, what's wrong with you? It's about left or right autocracy. Communism or military dictatorship? Which one do you want? Why is it Danielle Smith has more sheriffs, personal protectors of the Premier's office, than Donald J. Trump has in Secret Service? Why is that? Why has she been transitioning that way? Is Danielle Smith's life in jeopardy in Alberta? Is she so much more needful of that kind of levels of protection in policing for herself and her office than Donald J. Trump as President of the United States? Because Danielle Smith's sheriff's primary mandate is to protect the Premier and her office. And she's got more officers now by a huge margin. You have to go to Cuba or Venezuela, which Venezuela's a military dictatorship right now. Cuba's in full-on communism. Why do they need that level of protection where now Danielle Smith herself in Canada has overtaken them? She's got more personal protection than Donald J. Trump of the United States of America. Literally 1/100th the size of the United States. 1/100th. Put that in your head, wrap it around. Do these questions ever get asked? And you're going to do a survey on policing. We should transition to this. One supreme dictator for a massive nutjob supreme dictator who already has a personal security force that rivals Donald J. Trump with 1/100th of the population, where there's nowhere near the security threats against the premier's office compared to what Donald J. Trump is dealing with. And you don't think Donald J. Trump doesn't look at that and say, whoa, you've surpassed Venezuela and Cuba. Whoa. You think he's negotiating with somebody like that? The answer's no. He's made it clear. It's all coming today. That's my video number 2 today. I'm going to try to hold out. I'm not going to answer the phone anymore unless it's family and it's emergency. Continue on my day. And when tariffs released, this round 1 come, I'm going to do that. Until then, I'm going to keep it like this. Right here, this video. Bye now. Share. Get this out there. Bye now.